What's going on? YouTube, really any social mediums and what have you. This is a quick video to showcase the 5G towers, which are now being used to spy on the entirety of our nation. Without showing too much of the demographic around here, it's clear that minorities inhabit it, so if anything, they're targeting most of the community. There's an example right there. Okay, so keep in mind, there's one right there. A 5G tower right there, not too far away. Now, heading down to the left side, all the way down there till you hit like Central and Addison, they got another set of arrays. Very, very fucking close. We're about to get to another one right here. So this one's behind, they got one in front of the gym right there. And this is data leeching. So right now, my shit's being leached for the entirety of my community. All of these things have been leached by the local, national sectors of security. And as you can see, there's I'm not going to showcase anything that's like clearly out of the scope of the thing, but as you can see, everywhere that I pass by, there's a bunch of satellite arrays, dishes, and what these people don't know, or they might know actually, is the very fact that the so there's another one over there. You see, not even that far away. So we have all these fucking towers that are specifically targeting the American populace just to spy on our phones. So even right now, somebody's listening in on it. So the international community always has that type of oversight. But when the local and national chapters of our country do it, they do it just to fucking, for example, Middle Eastern mosques, they use this type of technology and thermodynamic stuff so they can see what's going on inside. For the general civilian, they use this technology so they can track every single person you talk to when you're making a call. And half of the time, there's really no legal precedence for it. So right now, even right here, so my phone has been intercepted for the past 160 hours. I'm in a public place right now, and all of these people that are coming here, because of the spy tech, the espionage going at an unprecedented level in the United States, is alarming. So you have these motherfuckers literally spying on every single connection at all times, and they don't even comply with the international sectors of security. So you have public, you have national, and then you have international security. All of these things that are being done present a very fucking serious problem overall. So down this, I'm not really trying to show anybody, but down the street, it just so happens that this is a minority populated community, and we happen to have more 5G towers in this fucking area. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. I think they've actively used it against us minorities for way too long. Whether you're Hispanic, whether you're African American, whether you come from Romania, what have you, any Latin American country, Israeli, Russian, Chinese, we're being spied on 24/7, and it seems like people don't realize. So a further point, all these satellite arrays and dishes, and if you have cable and you watch cable television, that gives the government an excuse to sublayer and leech off your data frequencies only to spy on what you're doing. Why does this matter? Okay, so if you're an average person, let's say you have an idea, the government's listening in on it, they take it. If you're an entrepreneur, and that can take on many forms, let's say you happen to be a minority, the government is always paying attention. And this is really my problem, and the majority of the problem that the international community within our community in Chicago, Illinois has, is the fact that these are unregulated, unprecedented, and unwarranted data leaches, intrusions, and breaches of privacy overall. For example, I play video games. I do a lot of things on the internet. I have people that live in other countries, pretty much like anybody in our minority-based community, right? We all know people that live in another part of the world. When you're talking to them, that connection is being intercepted by your local and national government. without even having a warrant. And what makes that criminal is the fact that it doesn't only affect us. So right now, if I were to walk by Walgreens or CVS, my shit is being intercepted. And I use that as a reference point for businesses. If it was a bigger business, just by me walking there, the government uses us, anybody, as a proxy to try to leach data. That presents another problem for the business sector overall. You can't have an economy that has prosperity and has transparency when you have these organizations doing this. So right there, that's the export. There was a fucking 5G tower in front, in the back, right there. So even right now, open source data, look it up. If you know anything about RF towers, you know how the data leaching occurs. This whole fucking park right here. So the park-centric based of, let's call it frequencies, are all being intercepted. And we have an antenna right here. The senior citizen center right there, that's all fucking open. Largely intruding upon the people's rights. And this is why so many politicians, even within my own state, have a problem with this shit. The problem is the fact that the Republicans and Democrats fail to come together. And so what, in essence, what you have is a undemocratic society that is spying on every fucking person. For what? Because they think everyone's a terrorist? And even then, that doesn't have anything or any correlation to do with anything. Just because somebody looks like they're up to something, oh what? That gives you access to spy on them and through proxy, everybody in their 360-degree surroundings? Is that really where this country's at? You know, other parts of the world. This is how minorities, for like drug trafficking or gun sales, this is why the police always picks on minorities. You know why? Because they want to have an easy case. They want to have people easy to track. And with all this, there's another antenna right here. Every single thing, I'm trying not to record other people, but every single thing that we have here in this park, and for those that do not understand the national and local levels of security, where they're concerned, are clearly deluded, misguided, and they're actually complacent to the fact. But all that will all be taken down. Make no mistake, as Edward Snowden, other people have pointed out, if people really wanted to shut down the entirety of our grid, it could happen in an afternoon, overnight, and it would take almost zero to no effort, because that's how fucking backwards and limited the USA is in terms of technology. I remember back in the early days of when 5G was becoming a thing, people were saying that, oh, it was for connectivity. And then somewhere along the line, people started saying that it was a conspiracy, that other countries were spying on us. And so that brings me to my next point. Huawei in the business sector. The USA, since early 2010, stated that Huawei was spying on us. In reality, they were only diverting attention from this country so that the citizen did not flip out. And when you have, in my area, a very rich community, diverse, we have Hispanics, African Americans, we have Middle Eastern folk, we have Russian, we have Europeans, we have a lot of people. And that's what I like about this community, the fact that we're so diverse. We don't just have 100% Americans. We have a lot of people, and those people have family, those people have friends. And so when they're making a call, and this sort of eavesdropping and illicit manner of obtaining these records from people has gone on for way too long. And this is probably why, you know, in communist countries, citizens are taking down these towers because they know, but we're not in a communist country, last time I checked. So when there's no transparency from the government at all, how can you reasonably expect the civilian to go about their day, especially the minority community, to behave in such a way that's like so callous and have a total lack of understanding for what we're dealing with? COVID, while it is ongoing, was the main reason for more of these tracking technologies to be implemented. If I could, I would walk all over the city, but I've had hope, and they've already proven it. The level of espionage that we are seeing within our own community is so alarming. So to put it in perspective, if you know what antennas are, and you know you have those old school TVs or any type of television interface, there's digital and then there's analog. Those types of sub-layered frequencies end up getting tracked, tapped, and hacked by the government. And this is all open, like it's public domain, it's been known. The problem it presents for the international community is the very fact that it trespasses international water clauses as well as security clauses as a whole. So when clearly the government is saying, yo, we don't give a fuck about your community, we don't give a fuck about anybody, they don't give a fuck about the international community at all. And so for those that go abroad to study and they have an American phone and they buy it, their connection is still intercepted. Case in point, family members that went to study in Bolivia and they had an American phone, their phones were being tapped by the federal government. And those people are think tanks, so I'm pretty sure they figured it out. Everywhere we go in this day and age is governed by technology. And what I really dislike is the fact that all this technology from the local and national sector, so in essence that would be like the police department, they use it specifically to target us minorities all the time. And so if the people really wanted to, they could use that in any case, any fucking criminal legal battle that they have. You can contact these companies like I already did. I contacted Google, I contacted LinkedIn, I contact every single company. Why? Because as a consumer, as a US citizen, even if you're not a US citizen, that presents an international conspiracy. Reach out to these companies, make them work for you, because we are the people. Without us, without our rich, diverse community, this country would not get anywhere. So don't allow yourselves to get spied on. Don't allow that the local and national sectors of the government, steal your data. And for big business out there in Chicago, Illinois, I know that they're all closed down right now, and we only have the, like Walmarts, Targets, and Best Buys, which are unfortunately abroad. Everybody else is dealing with the repercussions of our declining economy, and it seems like everyone's so brainwashed to distraction. That's a problem. How is it going to be if we allow this level of espionage to be conducted? Literally, if you have a company, if you're a CEO of any single company, this is a big problem because in essence, the government can steal your information, your secrets, and then pass them off to another company. If you're a minority, they're tracking every single fucking person you talk to, and that's bad. Especially if you understand the amnesty that was passed by way back in the Reagan administration, and then that presents a whole different host of problems. My main point that I'm trying to get across, and many people have, is the fact that while the US actively accuses other countries of spying on us, it's spying on our very own people, and it doesn't discriminate. But it's very clear that it targets minority communities more. Yeah, of course, it targets the Aryan white community too. So they also target the KKK. So they use the same thing that I explained within the mosques to see what's going on inside of the KKK places. And they do that illegally. And guess what? These are the same people that apparently took the oath, huh? That shows you where they stand. And not only that, if they do it to both sides, in essence what you have is, really, you got to ask Sir John Bolton, because he was the only one that was getting somewhere, and apparently he was let go. And we can go back, all the way back to the days of the 1970s. And in essence, with the use of all this technology, I mean, look at this, without showing too much geographic information. All these power lines, all these arrays, they're used to spy on us. And yet, the government has the audacity to tell us that it's not spying on us, that it's not taking our information, yet you would not believe if you give them a call and you ask them, yo, can I get like all my information that you've been data leeching? It'll take a few months, but they'll give you a full file. You wouldn't believe it. Sometimes if they cooperate well enough, they'll even give you shit you didn't even know. Like, for example, you could have been taking a shit, or you could have been having sex or something, and the TV was on and it had smart technology, and they have that. There's no end. There's no end to this espionage. That's crazy. And what's even worse is we're living in an age where people think that paying for these security companies like ADT is going to solve the problem. ADT was among some of the very first companies that ended up spying on the people. Because there's some people that have a paranoia in which they have cameras inside of their own home. I don't know why, but they do. And so when that is is an issue that people have, that creates another problem. So with ADT, that's like a third-party affiliate in terms of security at the local and national sectors. If they really wanted to, all these people that have it could quote and use ADT within the courts of law, very much in the same way that the politicians do. And it would only be to highlight the point that over time, what have we seen? We've seen the gradual, progressive undermining of our government and our laws slowly being taken away, or right to have laws. So freedom of speech was always a big one. We have not come that far since our integration and collective unison as a community. Every single time, like, I step outside, I see how we're really coming together, but in essence, we're never really going to come together unless these types of issues are addressed. Furthermore, there's people who want to take away guns. If that's not a red flag to anybody, I don't know what is. But the privacy clauses and the overstep deliberate espionage conducted by local and national sectors is the biggest thing on anybody who thinks rationally or has some sort of understanding of what we're facing during this time. So 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line, if we don't have any of these rights anymore, we're basically going to be a different type of Western country. We're not going to be capitalists. Is that what everybody wants? You would rather allow people to get spied on just because you're like, oh, well, who cares? That's wrong. There's so many houses here that have like ADT, and I'm pretty sure ADT's spying. And so all these like antennas and all these types of fucking comms equipment, they're targeting us, everybody, for no reason. I'll try to make a video in the day, but I had to address this because you would not believe, just by playing a fucking video game, a fucking video game with people abroad, the connection is being intercepted 24/7. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's something that has never before been seen in that demographic. It might have been seen, overall within a business context, or maybe perhaps if you work with the government. That doesn't make it okay to spy on everybody, though. And I'm proving the point right now. This phone apparently is from Apple, but through technologies and groups that are helping for free, and they can help anybody too, they prove that this shit was breached. So there's no way to shut it off. Even if I shut this phone off, the chips inside here and the technology are going to be active. So exactly how do we stop this level of espionage? We bring awareness to it, and we keep on doing what we can. Keep educating the older masses, keep educating the younger masses, because at the same time that I'm being intercepted, everybody in this neighborhood is. And that's no secret. The big question that everyone has is, who exactly within our departments of national security are doing this? Because if you followed politics and the FBI and the DOD and the DOJ for the past 20 years, you can see how it has evolved. So there's clearly some people in the administration within our own country that want to spy and use the terrorist threat as an excuse. So while they're doing that, they're getting information on everybody. Everybody. That's never been okay. At all. And if I had fucking bus fare right now, I'd go to downtown, because you know what? I used to go to school in downtown, and I was aware of that shit going on back then. So I had a Samsung phone back in the day. And those are the easiest to track and hack by the government, because there's no security clause and there's no type of things that would prevent that from happening. Samsung is different from Apple. I don't like Apple, but it has more security. However, it's not like a thing that's perfect. It's still being worked on. You have many innovators. You have a lot of people that have the same question as I referenced before. All these types of technologies right there, all this type of shit right there, all above us, everywhere. All these things are actively being used by the federal government just to spy. And that presents an interesting question. Do we have spies among us within our own community? Because that's been proven before many times. We could have within our very own communities and safeguarded cities, we could have spies among us. that use the government as a proxy or vice versa. "159 hours, 51 minutes, and the connection has been intercepted." I checked before I left the house. If you have any if you have any type of rationale, invest in frequency counters, invest in open source Stingray technology. As many have said, it's not that expensive to prove a point, specifically when you live in a congested community. Maybe if you lived in like the outside of a community, like if you lived in somewhere where there's only forest, yeah, people would be like, "Oh, I don't believe you, man. There's no way the government would do that." But when you live in such a congested area, it's so fucking easy to prove that. And really, if you stand for democracy, how can you allow this totalitarian style and fascist government dictate the very foundations of your lives, your data connection, security, and be fine with it? How can you? This doesn't only happen in Chicago, Illinois. It happens statewide. And some people are fine with it. And you know why they're fine with it? Either they're a shill, they have militant connections, or theoretically they're spies. Why else would you need all this antique tech? For what purpose? What ultimatum? What function does it serve? And you don't have to fucking quote me. In the bibliographies, I always provide this shit so you can look it up on your own. But look in essence, look at this. Another key point. All those connections, they're just power grids, or they're a means for internet connectivity and the grids to actually bring power into our home. That's been a thing forever. So over time, we've had smart meters installed. Understanding the sublayered means by which radio frequencies operate in, including the very essence of 5G being a brand new thing, we have a serious security breach happening. These are the smart meters. They were pushed on the people, and if you didn't have one, you were going to be fined. A lot of people have taken them down, taken people to court, and they've won. Yeah, how can you be fine with espionage? At all. And as many have alluded to, you don't even need to have all this fancy fucking expensive shit in order to figure out who's tapping your technology, who's spying on you, and who it is. I made the reference of it being next door because of the very fact that the older antique antennas are very easy to tap into and by proxy hack into whoever's around the vicinity. That's one of the major pros of older antique technology. They make it so easier to breach security. And when you have digital and more modern technology, well, the only limitation that they have is that they're so fucking big. As you saw with the radio towers, you can see them from like fucking far away. So they're very visible. For the naysayers, as always, and the people that just fail to believe, we'll be uploading statistics. It does not take any fucking effort to do that. We'll continue doing this, and we'll continue at large to cover the entirety of our neighborhood, our state, and our very nation. The New West. How do you guys like it?